Live television has always been a stage where unpredictability lives just beneath the surface. No matter how carefully producers plan segments, how thoroughly hosts prepare questions, or how polished guests appear before the cameras roll, live TV carries a unique tension. Anything can happen. When strong personalities with deeply formed perspectives come together in that unscripted space, the result can be electric, uncomfortable, revealing, or even historic. A clash of perspectives on live television is not just a moment of disagreement, it is a collision of lived experiences, values, beliefs, and identities, unfolding in real time before millions of viewers who cannot look away. In moments like these, the audience is not merely watching entertainment. They are witnessing the raw mechanics of human communication under pressure. Words are chosen quickly, sometimes imperfectly. Facial expressions betray thoughts that scripted dialogue would normally conceal. Pauses become louder than speeches. In a matter of seconds, a conversation can shift from polite exchange to tense confrontation, from light discussion to deeply personal revelation. That is the power of live television. It strips away the safety net and exposes truth in its most unfiltered form. When two public figures with strong opinions meet on a live broadcast, they do not arrive as blank slates. They bring with them decades of personal history, cultural influence, public expectations, and emotional baggage. One may represent a worldview shaped by activism, comedy, and outspoken commentary. The other may carry a perspective forged through artistry, privacy, and a quieter form of expression. Neither is wrong for being who they are, but when those perspectives intersect without rehearsal, friction becomes almost inevitable. That friction is not accidental, it is the natural result of difference meeting immediacy. Live television amplifies this clash in ways no other medium can. Unlike interviews that can be edited or podcasts that can be paused and restarted, live broadcasts demand instant responses. There is no time to rephrase a sentence, soften a tone, or reconsider a reaction. Once words are spoken, they belong to the public. This pressure can sharpen honesty, forcing people to speak from instinct rather than calculation. It can also magnify misunderstandings, turning small disagreements into moments that feel far larger than intended. What makes these clashes so compelling is not just the disagreement itself, but what it reveals about the broader cultural landscape. When audiences react strongly to a live TV confrontation, they are often responding to more than the individuals involved. They see reflections of ongoing social debates, generational divides, political tensions, and questions about identity, power, and voice. The studio becomes a microcosm of society, and the exchange becomes symbolic of conversations happening far beyond that single set. In such moments, perspective is everything. One participant may view the discussion as an opportunity to challenge ideas openly and passionately, believing that confrontation is a path to clarity. The other may see the same exchange as invasive, reductive, or misaligned with their values, believing that nuance and restraint are being sacrificed for spectacle. Neither approach is inherently superior, but live television rarely allows space to explain those differences calmly. The format rewards immediacy, not reflection. The audience, meanwhile, becomes both judge and jury in real time. Social media ignites within seconds. Clips are shared, reactions are formed, sides are chosen. Context is compressed into sound bites, and complex viewpoints are often reduced to a single line or facial expression. A moment that lasted only a few minutes on air can dominate conversations for days or weeks, reshaped and reinterpreted by millions who were not present in the room but feel deeply invested in what they saw. This is where the clash of perspectives takes on a deeper significance. It raises questions about how we, as a society, handle disagreement. Do we value listening as much as speaking? Do we allow room for discomfort, or do we demand immediate alignment with our own beliefs? Live television confrontations expose these tensions because they force us to witness disagreement without the filters we rely on in everyday life. There is no algorithm smoothing the edges, no private space to cool down. Everything is public, immediate, and permanent. For the individuals involved, these moments can be both empowering and costly. Speaking authentically on live TV can feel liberating, especially when it aligns with deeply held convictions. At the same time, authenticity carries risk. A single unscripted moment can overshadow years of work, redefining how a person is perceived. Intent can be lost, nuance erased, and reputations reshaped by reactions that move faster than reflection ever could. Yet, despite the risks, these clashes continue to happen, and perhaps they should. They remind us that public discourse is not meant to be comfortable all the time. Growth rarely emerges from agreement alone. When perspectives collide, they challenge audiences to think critically, to question assumptions, and to confront viewpoints different from their own. Even when the exchange feels awkward or tense, it can open doors to conversations that might otherwise remain unspoken. At its best, a clash of perspectives on live television can humanize public figures. Viewers see vulnerability, frustration, conviction, and uncertainty all at once. These moments remind us that behind titles, fame, and public personas are real people navigating complex emotions under extraordinary scrutiny. That realization can foster empathy, even when disagreement remains. At its worst, such clashes can devolve into performative conflict, where nuance is sacrificed for ratings and outrage becomes a currency. This is the fine line live television walks every day. The challenge for broadcasters, hosts, and guests alike is to navigate that line with integrity, recognizing the power of their platform and the impact their words can have far beyond the studio walls. Ultimately, a clash of perspectives on live television is not just about who said what, or who appeared right or wrong in the moment. It is about the broader question of how we engage with difference in a world that is increasingly polarized and constantly watching. These moments force us to confront the discomfort of disagreement and the responsibility that comes with having a voice in public spaces. They remind us that live television is more than entertainment. It is a mirror, reflecting not only the people on screen but the society watching from home. And when that mirror captures a clash of perspectives, it challenges us all to decide whether we will react with division or curiosity, dismissal or dialogue, outrage or understanding. In that choice lies the true impact of the moment no one saw coming. Speaking authentically on air is one of the most powerful acts a public figure can take, and also one of the most dangerous. In an age where every word can be clipped, shared, slowed down, replayed, and judged by millions within seconds, authenticity is no longer just about honesty, it is about courage. When someone chooses to speak from the heart on live television, they step into a space where there is no rewind button, no editing room, and no second chance to soften the impact. What emerges in that moment is raw truth, but raw truth has consequences. Live television has traditionally been associated with polish, control, and performance. Hosts rehearse, guests prepare talking points, and producers plan every second to minimize risk. Authenticity disrupts that system. It breaks through the scripted surface and exposes real thoughts, emotions, and beliefs. This disruption is exactly what makes authentic moments so compelling. Audiences are drawn to them because they feel real in a media landscape saturated with rehearsed narratives and manufactured personas. When someone speaks authentically on air, viewers sense it immediately. There is a shift in energy, a subtle tension that signals something unscripted is happening. That power lies in connection. Authentic speech has the ability to cut through cynicism and reach people on a human level. It can validate feelings viewers may have struggled to articulate themselves. It can challenge dominant narratives and introduce perspectives that rarely make it into carefully curated conversations. In those moments, television stops feeling like a product and starts feeling like a conversation. The speaker is no longer just a guest or a host, they become a person sharing something real, and that vulnerability can be deeply impactful. However, the same authenticity that creates connection also creates exposure. When someone speaks openly on air, they surrender control over how their words will be interpreted. Intent does not always survive transmission. Tone can be misunderstood, humor can be misread, and nuance can disappear entirely once a moment is reduced to a viral clip. What was meant as a thoughtful observation can be reframed as an attack. What was intended as honesty can be labeled as insensitivity. Authenticity does not protect against backlash. In many cases, it invites it. The risk is amplified by the speed of modern media. Reactions begin before the speaker has even finished their sentence. Social media platforms turn viewers into instant commentators, analysts, and critics. Judgments are formed quickly, often without full context, and those judgments can solidify into narratives that are difficult to reverse. An authentic moment on air can redefine a person's public image overnight, sometimes in ways they never intended. There is also the emotional risk to consider. Speaking authentically requires emotional openness, and emotional openness on a public stage can be draining. The speaker is not only sharing a viewpoint but often revealing something personal, frustration, pain, conviction, or vulnerability. When that openness is met with ridicule, hostility, or misrepresentation, the emotional cost can be significant. Public figures are expected to absorb criticism as part of the job, but that expectation does not eliminate the human impact of being misunderstood or attacked for speaking honestly. Yet despite these risks, authenticity continues to surface on live television because there is a growing hunger for it. Audiences are increasingly skeptical of perfectly packaged responses and generic statements. They recognize when someone is speaking carefully versus speaking truthfully. Authentic moments stand out precisely because they feel risky. They carry a sense of stakes, of something real being put on the line. That sense of risk makes them memorable and, at times, transformative. Authentic speech on air can also disrupt power dynamics. When someone refuses to conform to expected narratives or polite boundaries, they challenge the invisible rules of media discourse. This can be empowering, especially for voices that have historically been marginalized or constrained. Speaking authentically becomes an act of resistance, a way of reclaiming agency in spaces that often prioritize comfort over truth. In this way, authenticity is not just personal, it is political and cultural. At the same time, authenticity is not the same as impulsiveness, and live television often blurs that distinction. Speaking from the heart does not automatically mean speaking wisely. The pressure of the moment can lead to statements that are emotionally honest but poorly articulated. Without time to reflect, speakers may express complex ideas in simplified or blunt terms, leaving room for misinterpretation. The line between bravery and recklessness can be thin, and live television offers little protection when that line is crossed. The audience plays a crucial role in shaping the outcome of authentic moments. Viewers bring their own beliefs, biases, and expectations to what they watch. An authentic statement that resonates deeply with one group may provoke outrage in another. This polarization can turn a single moment into a cultural flashpoint, where the original message is overshadowed by the reaction to it. In such cases, authenticity becomes a mirror, reflecting not just the speaker's truth but the divisions within the audience itself. There is also the question of responsibility. With the power of authenticity comes the responsibility to consider impact. Speaking honestly does not absolve someone of the effects their words may have. Live television reaches diverse audiences, and statements made in that space can influence public opinion, reinforce stereotypes, or validate harmful narratives, even unintentionally. Navigating this responsibility while remaining authentic is one of the greatest challenges facing anyone who speaks on air. Despite these complexities, authentic moments continue to shape the most memorable chapters of television history. They are the moments people replay years later, not because they were perfect, but because they were real. They remind us that media is not just about information or entertainment, it is about human expression. Authenticity brings unpredictability, and unpredictability brings life to a medium that can otherwise feel controlled and distant. For the speaker, choosing authenticity often means accepting uncertainty. There is no guarantee of applause or approval. The response may be supportive, hostile, or deeply divided. But there is also a sense of integrity that comes from knowing one spoke truthfully, even under pressure. That integrity can matter more than public opinion, especially in a world where public opinion is constantly shifting. Ultimately, the power and risk of speaking authentically on air are inseparable. One cannot exist without the other. Authenticity gains its power precisely because it is risky. It demands vulnerability in a space that rewards composure. It invites connection while opening the door to criticism. It can inspire, provoke, alienate, or unite, all within the span of a few unscripted minutes. In a media environment increasingly defined by caution and calculation, authentic moments stand out as reminders of what live television can be at its best, a place where real people speak real truths in real time. These moments may be uncomfortable, controversial, or messy, but they are also honest. And in that honesty lies their enduring impact.